And coming to our last story and fun story, which it's kind of hard to pick today. There's a lot of really fun, enjoyable ones, but this one kind of close to my heart. Lake Cascade Winter Wonderland, a haven for ice fishermen. This comes by KTVB7 by Jude Binkley and Kara Valentine. While winter sends many anglers indoors, a dedicated group of ice fishermen in Idaho embrace the frozen lakes for some of the best ice fishing in the country. KTVB7's Jude Binkley joined local fishermen and guides Chris Weber and Park Wellner on the Lake Cascade, a renowned spot for massive perch. Despite the cold, Weber and Weller ventured onto the ice 7 days a week for 2.5 months, starting their journey from a northern dock and traversing 12-inch thick ice to set up camp and begin their 8-hour hunt. Lake Cascade, rated as a top ice fishing destination by Fishing Booker, attracts anglers from across the nation, drawn by both the promise of large perch and the relatively mild weather conditions. Weber describes the addiction of the sport, emphasizing the world-class status of Lake Cascade and the sunny, calm weather that creates ideal ice conditions. Even with the favorable climate, ice shacks are recommended for comfort, with temperatures inside reaching up to 70 degrees. The search for a perch is a meticulous process, with Weber advising to find a spot where fish are visible and frequent. Lake Cascade is particularly famous for its large perch, some reaching 15 to 16 inches, dwarfing those found in the Midwest Great Lakes region. The thrill of the catch, the patience, and the escape from the everyday make ice fishing an addictive pursuit. It's a unique experience that combines the serenity of the frozen landscape with the excitement of reeling in trophy fish, creating lasting memories on the ice of Lake Cascade. Which, one point they didn't put in here is that ice fishing is also a really fun communal thing to do. The many times that I've done it with friends and family and stuff, usually the funnest way to do it is to get together with a group of people. And then what you do is you get up there, you park at the docks or whatever. And then most of the time, some guy is going to have an ATV in Idaho. And then you have some sleds behind those and you load those up. And then you have like a whole group and you drive out there and you set up like 5 different tents out in the ice and stuff, which, as they alluded to in the article, they get pretty warm. When I've heard people, were you freezing? No, I get in the tent. It's like 80 or 70 degrees. I warm up like that. So you get out there, and then most of the time, as much as I love fishing, I will fully admit ice fishing for me anyways is one of the more lazy type of fishing, because what you do is you have this tent that stays at like 70 degrees, so it doesn't matter if a blizzard hits you on the lake. If you have your stakes down well enough, more about that later, you can stay plenty warm and then come back out. But then you usually have a food table and everyone's sitting around, and you have these things called tip-ups, which it's like a piece of wood, and then one end has a flag, and then one end has it kind of higher up in the air, and then it goes down to the hole. Well, when the fish bites, it pulls that whole contraption, the flag goes up. And so you can tell that a fish has bit the bait there. And so what usually happens when I've gone out with other people is that you kind of communally are all sitting around talking, sitting in chairs, eating food, and then everyone's waiting for one of the flags to go up. And when the flag goes up, first person gets there gets the fish. So someone who didn't bring any gear can get fish, but then the guy who brought all the gear can get fish. And so it's a fun thing for everyone else to do. And so then there's that moment where everyone's eating and talking, and it's great. But then everyone has like half an eye out there on the fish field where you have like a bunch of tip-ups, and you're waiting for the flag to go off. And then when the flag goes off, it's just a
it's a mad
stampede
dash
of everyone dashing to try to get there first so they can get the fish. But that's one element for me anyways, my personal experience that's been really fun about ice fishing, beyond obviously the beauty and the serenity that there is up there at Lake Cascade.
Yeah, so I know ice fishing was a big thing where I was growing up in Michigan. Like, that's
Great
just
Lakes,
the thing that
baby.
people did. And the funniest part is that some guys would have their shacks and they would be built structures that you then take out onto the lake. Yeah, and so people just have their ice shacks. You drive them out onto the lake and they stay out there all year. Oh gosh, what movie is it? Grumpy Old Men with Walter Matthau and Jack Lemmon. Oh man, that movie is incredible, and it's set in, I think it's Minnesota.
Okay. See, John is our local pop culture specialist here. We bring you only the top references about pop culture.
Top references. Yeah, right. Yeah, so,
okay.
Grumpy Old Men is 2 old guys that hate each other for no reason other than that they're neighbors. And then there's an old lady that shows up, and, she's the old hottie, and they both want her. And, oh, that's great. It's a great movie.
Oh, my word.
Yeah, it's wonderful. If you've never watched it, you should totally go watch it. It's very funny, very wholesome. And it's Walter Matthau and Jack Lemmon going at it. But yeah, anyway, the whole reason I got on that was the movie centers around them ice fishing together.
Nice.
And the shenanigans that happen when your whole town also has a second town that's on the ice.
You're like, there's all the men out there. It's amazing, the marital issues, the fighting. It just goes away in the winter in the Midwest. Why? All the men are on the ice. Women are back at the house.
Right. Or all of those issues just get worse.
That is also true. If we're stripping aside the humor part, you kind of need to actually solve issues and not sweep them under the rug. I will admit the funnest story I have to share about ice fishing is we went up there to go ice fishing, and we're doing all this stuff, and I'm enjoying it, and it's awesome, and I can see the mountains, and it's an amazing day. But then over to, what's that going to be? That's going to be in the north. To the north, I was just kind of seeing this white cloud that was at ground level, and credit where credit's due, it moved very slow. But as a kid, I don't know if the adults were just like, hey, it's fine, or whatever else, or no one took me seriously, but I was just kind of like, what is that? I mean, everyone keeps driving away from that thing. There's like snowmobiles, four-wheelers passing our camp and stuff. Like, my brain was like, I know I'm not that old yet, but I'm figuring there's a reason for this. Mm-hmm. So anywho, that ended up being my first experience in a blizzard.
Nice. There you go.
But everyone was like, oh, yeah, that's coming. It kind of picked up, and everyone like went into all of their tents to kind of weather it, right, or whatever else. And the two funny parts about it. One, there was a group of guys that did not tie their tent down. And so halfway through the blizzard, I'm looking out the window and I'm like, da-da-da-da-da, watching it. I'm like, oh, this is so cool. And then their tent flips over, and it's just like, there's the guys, and they're in there, and then all of a sudden there's no tent anymore, and they're running off, and you're seeing them fade into the fog trying to catch back up to grabbing the tent.
That's probably not good.
No, it's not. But it was hilarious to observe. It ended up working out fine in the end. But on the flip side, the blizzard was actually a really nice blessing, because all those tip-ups I talked about earlier, they got frozen to the ice. And so there was one of them that ended up getting a very, very large fish on it in the middle of the blizzard. And
nice.
After the blizzard, we decided we're going to pack it up. And so each person is prying the tip-ups off the ice. Usually we take about like 100 or so of them. And my dad's over there, and he's prying this one up. It's more of a sturdy one, so it's hard. And then he pries it off, and then he's like, wait, there's some weight on this. And so he pulls it up, and there is this beautiful, large bass on it. And he gets it up, and it's about 2/3 out of the hole, right? And then the line snaps. Oh. And my uncle, who's like 4 yards off, he goes airborne. And he wedges the fish inside the hole and like scoops it out.
Nice.
And he won.
Awesome.
There's a competition up there in Cascade. That year he, with that fish, won for the largest single fish caught for the men's division for that week of the competition.
Nice. Look at that.
So that's the story that has always stuck with me. My first fishing trip first ice fishing trip, which was very memorable and very enjoyable. So if you have some friends, go out there. You don't need the full ATV and stuff, but the tent is very nice, I will admit, to get a break. So you might want to buy one of those. And then the other thing that we regularly did is we went very environmentally friendly and brought a gas-powered auger so that you could drill all those holes, rather than a lot of guys had like the manual ones, and they're out there trying to go through a foot or two of ice, which that takes a bit when you're doing it manually. So I'd recommend spending the money for having a gas one, but I think it's well worth the investment if you're regularly going to go up there and hang out with the guys and stuff. It's a lot of fun.